All right, welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at the book of Exodus, specifically chapter 9.
So good.
And we're going to be unpacking some seriously intense storytelling, the plagues of Egypt.
Right.
And we're going to see some major power struggles and divine showdowns.
Yeah, some real drama.
And we've got a pharaoh who just won't back down.
Yeah, a very stubborn pharaoh.
So this should be good.
It's one of the most fascinating parts of Exodus. You know, you have this real escalating tension.
Yeah.
Every plague is like it's another demonstration of God's power.
Yeah.
To try and push Pharaoh, to finally let the Israelites go.
And it's not just like a random series of unfortunate events, right? Like these plagues were targeted and deliberate.
Yeah, they were meant to send a message.
So let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
The first one we're going to talk about is the plague on livestock.
Yeah.
So Exodus tells us that all across Egypt, like all these animals just started dropping dead. Right. Horses, donkeys, camels. Everything.
Yeah.
But here's the twist.
Oh.
Not a single animal belonging to the Israelites was harmed.
That's right.
So what do you make of that?
Well, that's, theologians call that the divine distinction.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty clear sign that God was in control, right?
Yeah.
And that he was protecting his people.
Yeah.
Think about the impact this would have had on the Egyptians.
Right.
I mean, not just the economic loss.
Right.
But their entire worldview,
Yeah.
Livestock were like central to their society. Daily life, economy, even their religious beliefs.
So you're saying this wasn't just about killing animals. This was about shaking like the very foundations of Egyptian society.
To their core.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a direct challenge.
How did Pharaoh react to this?
Well, the text says that he actually sent investigators to confirm, that the Israelite animals were unharmed. But even with that proof, he didn't budge.
Really?
His heart remained hardened.
So he's a little stubborn?
He's more than a little stubborn.
Okay, more than a little stubborn. But, things really ramp up. With the sixth plague.
They do.
Boils.
Boils.
I'm getting itchy just thinking about it.
Yeah, me too.
The imagery in Exodus is pretty intense.
It's graphic.
Yeah.
Very vivid.
Moses throws, furnace soot into the air.
Right.
And suddenly Egyptians, animals, covered in these painful boils.
Pretty awful.
So what do you think the significance of this particular plague was?
Well, I think this one really adds a layer of humiliation, especially for the Egyptian magicians and healers.
Right.
These figures were highly respected.
Yeah.
They were believed to have these magical powers to heal and protect.
Right.
And yet
they were powerless.
They were totally powerless.
Against this plague.
Against the boils.
Yeah. That's gotta be a serious blow.
Oh, yeah.
To their credibility.
Talk about, undercutting your authority.
Yeah. So was Pharaoh ready to give up at this point?
Was he fine?
Clearly he's gotta be.
Ready to throw in the towel?
Yeah. Come on.
Not even close.
Nope. Still stubborn.
The text tells us that despite all the suffering, his heart hardens even further.
Wow.
This hardening of Pharaoh's heart is a real recurring theme.
Yeah.
It's a tough theological question.
Yeah.
Right?
Is it divine intervention?
Is it God intervening?
Yeah.
Is it Pharaoh just being super stubborn?
Yeah.
Is it some combination of the two?
Right.
It's a debate that continues to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Some people think that, God is controlling Pharaoh's will.
Other people think that it's really just Pharaoh's own stubbornness and that God's just sort of letting him, play it out.
So it's like a free will versus destiny, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a really deep question.
That is deep.
Yeah.
And that kind of sets the stage.
It does.
For the seventh plague.
Yeah.
Which is truly epic.
Yeah, this one's a big one.
Hail and fire.
Hail and fire.
We're talking a storm of biblical proportions here.
Yeah, unlike anything they'd ever seen before.
And this time, there's a direct warning from God.
That's right.
He tells Pharaoh, protect your people.
Yeah.
Protect your possessions.
Get everything inside.
Yeah, because this hailstorm, unlike any other, is coming.
It's your last chance, basically.
So was Pharaoh like, okay, I'll do it?
I'll listen.
Yeah.
Well, this time,
he
has a chance to change his mind, to show some humility.
Right.
Maybe avoid this disaster.
So did anyone listen to the warning?
Was anyone smart enough to take cover?
That's actually an interesting part of the story.
Okay.
There's this real contrast in how people react.
Okay.
So some of Pharaoh's people,
yeah,
they actually fear God's message.
Okay.
They hear the warning. And they scramble, they run around trying to protect their servants, their livestock, get everything inside.
Yeah.
But others, they just completely ignore the warning.
Really?
Yeah, they don't even think twice.
Wow.
And they leave themselves completely vulnerable.
Why do you think they did that?
Well, could be a number of things.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just arrogant.
Okay.
Maybe they thought they knew better than God. Maybe they were just afraid to disobey Pharaoh.
Right.
It's hard to say, for sure.
Yeah.
But whatever the reason, their decision had some pretty serious consequences.
Right. I mean, so this isn't just a storm, right?
Yeah.
This is like a test of faith almost.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. And I'm guessing those who ignored the warning probably ended up regretting it.
I would say so.
So what happened?
Well, Exodus describes a scene of utter devastation. I mean, hail mingled with fire.
Oh, wow.
Wiping out everything in its path.
Wow.
Crops, trees, livestock, even people.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing was spared.
Wow.
I mean, it would have been terrifying.
I can only imagine.
Like watching the world end right in front of you.
So earlier you mentioned the divine distinction.
Right.
Were the Israelites caught in this storm?
That's the incredible part.
Okay.
The land of Goshen, where the Israelites were living, remained completely untouched.
Really?
Not a single drop of hail.
Wow.
Not a single spark of fire.
So they're just watching this happen.
They're watching from a distance.
To everybody else.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it would have been...
That's got to be like an incredible moment for them.
It would have been a very powerful moment.
Yeah. Seeing their oppressors suffer while they remain protected.
It would have strengthened their faith.
Right.
Solidified their sense of, being God's chosen people. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty dramatic.
So did this finally break Pharaoh?
Well,
did he finally give in?
It seems like it for a moment.
Okay.
The text describes him, begging Moses, stop the plague.
Wow.
He admits his wrongdoing. And he even promises to let the Israelites go.
Yeah.
It's like he's finally seen the light.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, you win.
Yeah.
I'll let them go. Just make it stop.
Okay, so it sounds like he's had a change of heart.
He's had a change of heart.
Yeah.
For now, at least. Yeah, for now. As soon as the hail stops, he goes right back to his old ways.
Really?
He refuses to release the Israelites.
Oh, man.
Shows that his remorse maybe wasn't so genuine after all.
It's almost like he's stuck in this cycle. This back and forth between like fear and defiance.
Yeah, he's caught between these two forces.
Yeah.
The power of God on the one hand
and
his own pride and stubbornness on the other.
So do you think he was just being stubborn, or was there something deeper going on?
Well, we have to remember that Pharaoh saw himself as a divine ruler.
Okay.
Right, appointed by the gods.
Okay.
So to submit to the God of Israel would have meant undermining his own authority.
Right.
And admitting that there was a power greater than his own.
So it was a power struggle.
Yeah.
But with both earthly and divine implications.
Exactly. It's playing out on multiple levels.
Wow.
It's not just a political conflict.
Yeah.
It's a cosmic battle between different gods and different ideas about power.
And if we look closer at the plagues themselves, I mean, they weren't just random acts of destruction.
No, they were carefully targeted.
Okay.
Often attacking specific Egyptian deities.
I'm remembering now that the Egyptians had all these different gods for like animals.
The Nile.
The sun.
The sun.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Everything, right? They had a god for everything.
Were the plagues like attacking these gods?
Well, you could certainly interpret it that way. Like take the livestock plague, for example. That directly challenged deities like Hathor.
Right.
The goddess of cattle.
Okay.
And Apis, the sacred bull.
Right.
By striking down these animals, God was demonstrating his power over their gods.
So it's almost like a cosmic game of chess.
Yeah, you could see it that way.
Yeah.
Each plague is like a strategic move
right.
to dismantle the Egyptian belief system.
Right, to show that their gods were no match for the God of Israel.
That's right.
And then there's the plague of boils.
Yeah.
Which you were saying humiliated the Egyptian magicians and healers.
Right. They were supposed to have these magical abilities to heal and protect.
Right.
But they couldn't even protect themselves from this plague.
That's gotta be a huge blow to their reputation. Oh yeah, it completely undermines their authority.
Yeah.
it further erodes the Egyptians' faith in their own power structures.
Right.
And highlights the supremacy of the God of Israel.
So these plagues were sending a message on like multiple levels to Pharaoh.
To the Egyptian
people.
And even to their gods.
Even to their gods. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it.
So what about the Israelites? How are they experiencing all of this?
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
We can't forget about them.
Yeah.
Imagine being an Israelite.
Yeah.
Witnessing these plagues unfold.
You're seeing your oppressors suffer.
Right.
While you and your people remain unharmed.
It's got to be both terrifying and awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like watching God fight your battles for you.
Exactly. And it would have strengthened their faith in God.
Right.
And solidified their identity as his chosen people.
Like they're being forged.
Yeah. In the fires of these plagues.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They're being tested and refined.
Their faith.
Yeah.
Their sense of nationhood.
Their sense of purpose.
Becoming stronger.
Stronger.
Each plague is like another step in their journey towards freedom.
But these plagues weren't just about divine power, right? You mentioned earlier the ecological impact.
Right.
And I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, the ecological impact of these plagues would have been immense.
Can you give us some specific examples?
So the plague of hail and fire, for instance, would have caused widespread deforestation, habitat destruction.
All right.
This would have had a ripple effect on animal populations.
Okay.
Disrupting food chains, ecological balance for years to come.
So it wasn't just about the immediate devastation. It was about long-term ecological change.
Ecological change.
And then there's the plague of frogs.
I mean, imagine millions of frogs.
Millions.
Swarming the land.
It would have been crazy.
Yeah.
And they would have disrupted the natural predator-prey balance.
Right.
Leading to, maybe a surge in other pest populations later on.
So it's like these plagues were a catalyst for ecological upheaval. Yeah. Like reshaping the very landscape.
Reshaping the landscape.
That's Egypt. Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even in ancient times, human actions, or in this case, divine actions, had far-reaching consequences for the environment.
It raises questions about, the interconnectedness of all things. Yeah. How even seemingly isolated events can trigger a chain reaction across entire ecosystems.
It makes you wonder if Egypt ever truly recovered ecologically.
Yeah, that's a great question.
From these plagues.
And it's one that historians and archaeologists are still trying to answer.
Wow.
But there's no doubt that the plagues would have left a lasting mark on the Egyptian environment.
And speaking of lasting marks, we've talked a lot about the destructive side of these plagues. Right. But what about the creative side?
The creative side?
What do you mean by that?
Well, the plagues, while devastating, also paved the way for new beginnings. Think about the parting of the Red Sea.
Okay.
Which followed the plagues.
Right.
It wasn't just an escape route for the Israelites. It was a symbolic rebirth.
Okay.
A cleansing of the past.
Right.
A step into a new future.
So the plagues weren't just about punishment.
No.
They were about transformation.
Transformation.
Both for the Israelites and for the land of Egypt itself.
For Egypt itself.
It's a reminder that sometimes destruction is necessary for creation to occur.
Destruction and creation are two sides of the same coin.
That's deep.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to Pharaoh for a moment.
Okay.
Do you think he ever truly understood the power he was up against?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
Did he see the plagues as divine judgment?
Right.
Or just a series of unfortunate natural disasters? The text suggests that he experienced moments of genuine remorse.
Yeah.
But his pride and desire for power ultimately kept him from fully surrendering to God's will.
It's a classic example of how clinging to power can blind us to the truth.
Yeah, it can distort our perception.
Even when it's right in front of us.
We can become so fixated on maintaining control that we lose sight of what really matters.
And it highlights the ongoing tension between human will and divine power.
Divine power.
It raises questions about the nature of free will.
Free will.
Divine intervention.
Divine intervention.
The consequences of our choices.
Yeah, it's a really complex issue.
Yeah.
With no easy answers.
Yeah, it really makes you think, are we masters of our own destiny?
Right.
Or Are we playing out a script written by a higher power?
That's the age-old question, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something people have been debating for centuries.
Absolutely. And I think these stories from Exodus, they offer a powerful framework for that debate.
Yeah.
But I think they also offer something else. They offer a glimpse into the human condition. These plagues weren't just about supernatural events.
Right.
They were about human emotions, about fear and desperation, faith and doubt.
I like that.
Yeah.
And we've been focusing on the grand scale, power struggles, the ecological impact. But what about the individual experience?
Yeah.
Imagine being an Egyptian during this time.
Yeah.
I mean, it must have felt like the world was falling apart.
Right. I mean, imagine the psychological toll of these plagues.
Yeah.
The constant fear.
The uncertainty.
Yeah.
The feeling of being powerless.
Yeah, powerless against these forces.
And not just the Egyptians, but the Israelites too, that were protected. But they were also witnessing these incredible displays of power.
Right, both destructive and awe-inspiring.
Right.
Yeah, it must have been a very confusing and overwhelming time for everyone involved.
But in the midst of all this chaos,
yeah,
there's also a sense of purpose, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like both the Egyptians and the Israelites are being forced to confront their beliefs,
right?
Their values,
your understanding of the world.
Yeah, like their whole worldview is being shaken.
It's like they're being pushed,
to
redefine their relationship with the divine.
Right, and the Egyptians, with their pantheon of gods, are suddenly confronted with a god who seems to defy their understanding of power.
Right, a god who's more powerful than all their gods combined.
And the Israelites, whose faith has been tested through generations of slavery. They're seeing their God act in ways they could never have imagined.
Yeah, it's a real turning point for them.
So the plagues, while undeniably destructive, were also a catalyst for spiritual growth. And transformation. Yeah, they forced both sides to reevaluate everything. Yeah. They thought they knew about themselves.
Right.
And about the nature of the divine.
It's a really profound message.
But let's get back to the present for a moment.
Okay.
Why do these stories from Exodus still resonate with us today? Thousands of years later. What can we learn from them?
Well, I think they speak to universal human experiences.
Okay.
The struggle for freedom.
The battle against oppression.
Yeah.
The search for meaning and purpose. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Right. They remind us that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
And they challenge us.
Yeah.
To confront our own stubbornness.
Our own resistance to change.
Our own tendency to cling to power.
Yeah, even when it's not serving us.
Right. Or those around us.
Right. We can all be a little bit like Pharaoh sometimes, holding on to things that we need to let go of.
And they force us to confront the consequences of our actions. Not just on a personal level, but on a global scale.
Right. Our choices have ripple effects.
Yeah.
Far beyond what we can often see or comprehend.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
But it's also a call to action.
Yeah. We can't just passively observe these stories.
Right.
We have to actively engage with them.
We have to ask ourselves, what are our own plagues? What are the forces in our lives, in our society, that are holding us back from true freedom?
From true transformation?
Yeah.
Those are great questions.
Those are questions worth pondering.
Yeah.
And this deep dive has really given me a lot to think about.
Me too.
And I hope it's done the same for our listeners.
I hope so.
So I guess that about wraps it up for today.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Exodus.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep those minds open.
Keep asking questions.
And those questions come in.
And we'll see you next time.